The night the sky broke open. In the small town of Willow Creek, Nebraska, where cornfields stretched like golden oceans under endless prairie skies, lived a man named Elias Harper. He was 34, divorced, quietly broken, and working the night shift at the grain elevator on the edge of town. Most nights he spent alone in the control booth, watching the augers turn and listening to the low hum of machinery that never judged him. Elias had grown up in church, the kind with wooden pews that creaked like old bones, and hymns sung without instruments. His mother used to tell him, "God picks his people before they're even born, Eli. One day you'll know you're one of them." But the years had worn that belief thin. His marriage ended in silence rather than shouting. His father died too young from a heart that gave out in the middle of harvest. The church had shrunk to a handful of gray-haired widows. God felt distant, like a radio station that faded the further you drove. Tonight was October 17th, colder than usual. The harvest moon hung low and heavy, painting the fields in silver. Elias clocked in at 10:30 p.m., made coffee that tasted like burnt rubber, and settled into the booth with his worn Bible, more habit than devotion these days. He flipped it open to Psalm 23 out of muscle memory, but the words blurred. Around 11:45, something strange happened. The grain elevator's radio, which usually played classic country or static, suddenly crackled to life with no station. A calm, deep voice, not the DJ, not a commercial, spoke directly into the quiet booth. "Chosen one," it said, clear as if someone stood beside him. "God laid the whole setup for you tonight. Just recite." Elias froze. He looked around. No one. The voice continued. "Every closed door, every lonely night, every tear you swallowed in silence, it wasn't punishment, it was positioning. Tonight, the setup is complete. All you have to do is speak the words I give you. Recite them 3 times with your whole heart and watch heaven move." Then the voice began to recite a short, rhythmic declaration, simple yet weighted with authority. "I am the chosen one you prepared before the foundations. Every chain is broken, every debt is canceled. Your favor surrounds me like a shield tonight. Doors no man can shut are opening now. I receive the inheritance laid up for me. In the name above every name, Jesus, let it be done." Elias's hands trembled on the coffee mug. Part of him wanted to laugh it off as a prank or a hallucination from too many night shifts, but another part, the boy who once believed his mother's words, felt fire crawl up his spine. He whispered the words once. Nothing dramatic, no lightning, just the hum of the augers and the moon staring back through the window. He said them a second time, louder, voice cracking on inheritance. Still nothing. Then, on the 3rd recitation, he stood up, palms flat on the metal desk, and spoke them like a man claiming something stolen from him long ago. The moment the last word left his lips, the lights in the booth flickered. Not a power surge, more like something breathed through the wiring. Outside, the wind stopped, dead silence over the fields. Then, his phone buzzed. He almost ignored it, but the screen lit up with a number he hadn't seen in 8 years, his ex-wife, Mara. He answered slowly. "Eli?" Her voice was small, shaky. I don't know why I'm calling at this hour. I had the strongest feeling I needed to tell you something." Silence stretched between them. "I found the letter you wrote me the night you left, the one you never sent. It was in an old box in the garage. You wrote that you still prayed for me every night, even after everything, that you believed God had a plan bigger than our mess." Elias swallowed hard. He hadn't remembered writing it, but he remembered the pain. "I read it tonight, and then I started crying like I haven't in years. Eli, I'm getting help, real help, therapy, meetings, everything. I don't know if you'll ever forgive me, but I wanted you to know I'm sorry. And I think maybe God's doing something in both of us." He couldn't speak for a long moment. Before he could respond, another call beeped in. His younger sister, Grace, who lived in Denver and rarely called after midnight. He switched over. "Eli, you're not going to believe this," Grace said, breathless. "My boss called me 20 minutes ago. The regional manager position, the one I got passed over twice for, it just opened back up. They want me to fly out tomorrow for an interview. They said my name came up in a meeting today out of nowhere, like someone higher up insisted on me. Eli, this is it. This is the break I've been praying for years." He laughed shakily. Tears burned his eyes. One more buzz, a text from his old high school friend, now a lawyer in Omaha. "Hey man, random, but I was going through case files tonight and your dad's old property dispute came up. The one the insurance company dragged out forever? Found new documentation that voids their whole claim. You could get the full settlement, close to $180K. I'm filing motion first thing tomorrow. You still own that land?" Elias stared at the screen. The grain elevator suddenly felt too small for what was happening. He walked outside into the cold air. The moon seemed brighter, almost pulsing. The fields were still, reverent. He looked up and whispered, "I don't understand, but thank you." In that moment he knew God hadn't forgotten him. The betrayals, the dead-end jobs, the nights he drove country roads screaming questions into the dark, none of it was wasted. It was set up, divine orchestration. Every piece positioned so that tonight, when the moment came, all he had to do was recite. Elias went back inside, sat down, and opened his Bible again. This time the words didn't blur. He read aloud, slowly, "Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever." Then he smiled, the first real smile in years, and recited the declaration one more time, not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Outside, the augers turned on, steady and sure, like the heartbeat of something vast waking up. In Willow Creek, Nebraska, under an American harvest moon, a chosen one had finally spoken the words, and heaven answered. In the heart of America's breadbasket, where the Great Plains unfurled like a rumpled quilt under vast, indifferent skies, lay the town of Willow Creek, Nebraska. Population, 1,247. A place where time moved slow as molasses in winter, and dreams often withered on the vine like forgotten corn stalks after harvest. Here, the air carried the scent of earth and diesel, and the horizon was a straight line broken only by silos that pierced the clouds like silver spears. Elias Harper was born into this world on a stormy April night in 1992, the kind of storm that rattled windows and made cattle low uneasily in their pens. His mother, Ruth, a devout woman with calloused hands from years of farm work, had whispered prophecies over his cradle. "You're marked, Eli. God chooses his own before the world spins its first day." His father, Jacob, a stoic man who wrestled the land for a living, nodded silently, though his faith was more in the soil than in sermons. Growing up, Elias embodied the quiet strength of the Midwest. Tall and broad-shouldered, with eyes the color of faded denim and hair like wheat ready for the combine. He excelled in school, not brilliantly, but steadily, playing linebacker on the high school football team, the Willow Creek Warriors, where Friday nights under floodlights were the closest thing to glory the town knew. Church was mandatory. Sunday mornings at First Baptist, where Pastor Reynolds preached fire and brimstone, and Wednesday evenings for Bible study, where Elias memorized verses like, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord." But life has a way of grinding down even the sturdiest souls. At 22, Elias married Mara Thompson, the girl with freckles like scattered stars and a laugh that could cut through the prairie wind. She was the daughter of the local feed store owner, full of fire and ambition that clashed with Willow Creek's inertia. They honeymooned in Omaha, dreaming of a farm of their own, kids running through the fields, a life scripted from Hallmark cards. Reality intruded like weeds in a crop row. The farm economy tanked. Droughts, tariffs, falling prices. Elias took a job at the grain elevator, the massive structure on the town's outskirts that loomed like a sentinel over the railroad tracks. Night shifts, 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., monitoring the endless flow of corn and soybeans into bins that fed the world but barely paid the bills. Mara grew restless, her dreams curdling into resentment. Arguments bloomed like thistles over money, over missed anniversaries, over the child that never came despite prayers and doctor's visits. One night, after a particularly brutal fight, Mara packed a suitcase and left for Lincoln, chasing a job in real estate. "This town's killing me, Eli," she said at the door, tears streaking her face, "and it's killing us." He didn't stop her, didn't beg, just watched her taillights fade into the dark, feeling something inside him snap like a dry twig. Divorce papers arrived 6 months later. Elias signed them in the grain elevator booth, alone with the hum of machinery and the ghosts of what-ifs. His father died the next year, heart attack in the cab of his John Deere during harvest. The insurance company dragged their feet on the claim, citing some ancient property dispute over the family land. Elias sold off parcels to pay bills, burying his grief in work and solitude. His sister, Grace, escaped to Denver after college, chasing a career in marketing. She called sporadically, her voice laced with city optimism that grated on Elias's rural resignation. "Come visit, Eli. There's more life than silos and sermons." But he stayed, anchored by habit and a fading faith. Church attendance dwindled. The congregation aged and shrank. Pastor Reynolds retired, replaced by a young seminary grad who favored guitars over fire and brimstone. Elias's Bible gathered dust on the shelf, except for nights when insomnia drove him to flip through it, searching for answers in yellowed pages. By 34, Elias was a shadow of the boy who'd believed in divine plans. He lived in a weathered trailer on the edge of town, drove a rusty Ford F-150, and spent off hours fishing at the Platte River or nursing beers at the Rusty Nail, the local dive where farmers swapped stories of failed crops and fleeting hopes. October 17th dawned crisp and clear, the kind of autumn day that painted the world in amber and gold. Elias woke at noon, his body attuned to the graveyard shift. He made eggs and coffee, stared out at the fields where combines droned like distant bees. The harvest moon would rise full that night, a blood-orange orb that old-timers said heralded change, good or ill. He clocked in at 10:30, nodding to the day shift guy, Hank, who clapped him on the shoulder. "Quiet night ahead, Eli. Wind's dying down." Elias settled into the control booth, a cramped room with flickering monitors, a dented metal desk, and a radio tuned to classic country. Johnny Cash croned about walking the line, an irony not lost on Elias as he sipped burnt coffee from a thermos. Around 11:45, the ordinary shattered. The radio static surged, then cleared, not to music, but to a voice, deep, resonant, like thunder rolling over the plains. It wasn't the DJ, wasn't static. It spoke with authority, as if echoing from the marrow of the earth. "Chosen one," it intoned. Elias jolted, spilling coffee. He scanned the booth, empty. The voice pressed on. "God laid the whole setup for you tonight. Just recite." Elias's heart hammered. Hallucination? Prank? But the words burrowed deep, stirring embers of his mother's prophecies. Every closed door was a redirection, every lonely night a forging, every tear a seed. It wasn't abandonment, it was architecture, divine setup. Tonight, the foundation is laid bare. All you must do is recite these words 3 times with the faith of a mustard seed and witness the unveiling. Then the voice delivered the declaration, rhythmic and potent, like a psalm unearthed from ancient scrolls. "I am the chosen one you prepared before the foundations. Every chain is broken, every debt is canceled. Your favor surrounds me like a shield tonight. Doors no man can shut are opening now. I receive the inheritance laid up for me. In the name above every name, Jesus, let it be done." The radio fell silent. Elias sat stunned, the booth's fluorescent light buzzing like a trapped bee. Outside, the moon climbed higher, bathing the silos in ethereal glow. He whispered the words once, voice tentative, half expecting ridicule from the empty air. Nothing. The augurs hummed on. He recited them a second time, standing now, fists clenched. A warmth spread through him, faint but insistent, like dawn's first light. On the third recitation, he bellowed them, voice echoing off metal walls, raw with years of pent-up ache. As the final "done" escaped his lips, the booth's lights dimmed, surged, then steadied. A profound stillness blanketed the fields, even the crickets hushed. His phone vibrated, a harbinger. It was Mara. 8 years since her number lit his screen. He answered, breath caught. "Eli?" Her voice trembled, laced with vulnerability he'd forgotten. This is crazy. I was cleaning the attic tonight, couldn't sleep. Found that letter you wrote but never sent. The one after I left? You poured your heart out, said you still prayed for me, believed God could redeem us." Elias leaned against the desk, memories flooding, the night he'd scrawled those words by lamplight, tears blotting the ink. "I read it," Mara continued, "and it broke me. I've been in therapy, Eli. AA meetings too. Didn't tell anyone, but the drinking, it was why I ran. Tonight, under that moon, I felt this pull, like I had to call. I'm sorry for everything. Maybe God's not done with us." Before he could process, another call, Grace. "Eli? Oh my God! Sorry, it's late there, but listen, my boss texts me at 11 p.m. The regional director job, the one I bombed the interview for last month, the guy they hired quit suddenly. They want me back in. Said my resume jumped out in a late-night review. Flight's booked for tomorrow. Eli, this is miraculous." Laughter bubbled from him, mingled with tears. Then a text from Tom Riley, his high school buddy turned Omaha lawyer. "Eli, working late on old files. Your dad's insurance dispute? Dug deeper, found overlooked deeds from '78. Invalidates their denial entirely. Settlement could hit $200K plus interest. Filing tomorrow. That land's yours free and clear." Eli staggered outside. The air was crisp, charged. Stars wheeled overhead, the moon a watchful eye. He fell to his knees in the gravel lot, whispering thanks to the heavens. But the night wasn't done unfolding its setup. As dawn crept, painting the east in rose and gold, Eli drove home. His trailer felt different, warmer, expectant. He opened his Bible, dust motes dancing in the light. Psalm 23 leapt out, but now it pulsed with life. That Sunday, he returned to church. Pastor Young noticed, pulling him aside. "Eli, good to see you. Funny thing, anonymous donor called Friday. Wants to fund a community center on your family's old land. Said it came to them in a dream." Word spread. Mara visited 2 weeks later, tentative coffee turning to hours of raw conversation. Grace landed the job, crediting divine timing. The settlement check arrived, seeds for new beginnings. Eli understood now. The broken marriage, the lost father, the grinding nights, they weren't curses, they were the setup. God, the master architect, had positioned every piece. All Eli had to do was recite, claim the promise. In Willow Creek, under American skies that stretched forever, a chosen one had awakened. And in his awakening, the town stirred too. Revival in the air, like rain after a drought. Years later, Eli would tell his children, yes, children, with Mara by his side, the story of that night. God lays the setup, we just recite, and heaven, ever listening, would move. The end.